Welcome to the Numinous Factor, the home of spiritual and metaphysical exploration through the guiding lights of Ronnie Mae James, medium, and Claudia Ruland, astrologer. Debate and discussion, observation and openness, stimulation and sensitivity to all matters pertaining to our soul. The Numinous Factor.
Greetings, one and all. Our first segment on the Numinous Factor is called Spirits Talking About Spirits. This is where we discuss a particular topic relating to the spiritual and metaphysical realm. Today's topic is in lieu of this evening's festivities. What is Halloween?
Yeah.
Oh. Hi, Ronnie. How are you?
Oh, good, thanks. I'm interested and excited to talk about Halloween.
Yes, and Brody, how are you?
Scared.
Oh,
Pooless.
You should. Ooh. Well, I thought I might start with a little bit of...
I just don't want anyone to start trick-and-treating, because if they turn up at my door, they don't get a happy person looking at them.
Oh, dear. Oh, you're one of those, are you?
What do you want?
We might have to put an X on your door, I think, or maybe some...
A blood cross.
Maybe a few eggs.
I've had them before now.
Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic or Irish festival of Samhain. The Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred, and I'm sure Ronnie will elaborate on this in a moment. On the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain, when it was believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to Earth for one night to cause mischief. To commemorate the event, the Druids, or the Celtic priests, built huge sacred bonfires where the villagers gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to these wandering deities in the hopes of keeping them away. During the celebration, they wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes. So this is a little bit sort of where it all began, and obviously what we celebrate now is a little different. But
So pagan.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very different. I didn't know about trick-or-treating. Really, to us, it was sort of like a very Americanized thing. But the pagan belief really is very much about a celebration of the end of August, and actually, the winter solstice is the celebration of bringing that in. And it is really about the celebration or asking the spirit world to look after the livestock. So, obviously in Cornwall we have very harsh winters.
Because we are talking Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, we are.
Same in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, and depending obviously where you live in Cornwall itself will depend on how much snowfall you're likely to get in the winter.
In Cornwall alone?
Yeah, in Cornwall alone. Because if you go to the southeast side, you actually get the cold stream you get the hot air that comes up from like the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, from Africa.
Yeah, so that's the warmer side, but our side is really quite cold, the south. And I remember when I was a little kid, actually, that part of the sea, about 6 inches of the sea, froze. It was that cold, but that was in the 70s.
The actual sea?
Nippy.
Yeah, it would have been very. Yeah, I remember as a little kid. I expect there's probably loads of people that are listening to this now will remember when they put their wellies on, they would stand in a tub of hot water.
Wow.
To warm your feet up before you attempted to walk in the snow, and that was with your wellies on.
Yeah. Well, see, coming from the Northern Hemisphere, like growing up in Ontario and Canada, we have Niagara Falls, and I can remember something very similar. You imagine Niagara Falls, which is one of the wonders of the world, freezing, solid, absolutely beautiful.
Weird, isn't it? But I suppose Halloween for us is always cold. And there is a little bit of spookiness that goes on with that because it's related to some of the witches. But the earliest recorded literature for the Halloween in Ireland was actually around about the 11th century. But Cornwall goes far as the 6th century. And I remember it being called Allen's Day or Allen's Tide.
Yeah.
And this was really... goes back as far as the first bishop of Quimper, which is not far from Bodmin. And as a little kid, we always used to get really excited because there were a lot of games, and then there would be a bonfire. The bonfire was quite important for, obviously, the celebration of Halloween, because that got rid of the bad spirits and encouraged, like, even the little people, the fairies and the wood nymphs, to gather. And it's also considered to be the day where the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest. So where you were saying about the spirits, the ghosts that come out to play and wreak havoc, that is actually true. So
it was a sort of in English folklore, well, not folklore. It sort of got superseded because Guy Fawkes Day came along, and then there was a big bonfire and lots of bangs and fun things to do. So, whereas in America they didn't have it, so Halloween had a chance to at least become part of the super culture, for want of a better description.
Brodie, I probably didn't, until you pointed that out, I probably didn't realise. And I suppose when you're kids, it's far more interesting seeing a sacrificial burning of what would have been Guy Fawkes.
Yes.
On the top of a bonfire. That would have been far more fun watching that than it would,
strangling a
bonfire in the back of your garden. Playing apple bobbing, which was, to me, I used to think it was the worst game you could possibly play, because it was a big zinc tub full of cold water.
Yeah.
And don't forget, it was in the winter, hands tied behind your back.
Yeah, but we did it too.
Yeah.
That brings back, why would anyone do that?
Yeah.
I've spent this much time putting this makeup on. Why would I stick my head fully into a bucket for an apple when I can just pick one out of the basket?
Is there any astrological connection with it, with Halloween as a...
With Halloween, it's in the time of Scorpio.
Yeah.
But as far as an astrological connection, other than the time of year that it's occurring, yes and no, rather.
Because with all these things, they all have their roots,
yes,
don't they, in the past?
Well,
and it goes back and back. I was wondering if there was anything in Europe that might have...
Exactamundo. Cha-ching! You have now won $500.
Only $500.
Well...
Go buy a bag of apples.
Excuse me. We have that recorded. I'm looking forward to it.
So actually, it goes back as far as the Roman days, with the All Saints' Day.
That's right.
And obviously, there was a combination of all the different religions that must have amalgamated over a period of time. But, the pagan belief is still carried on, in Cornwall. And obviously the white witches, I do say, were, I suppose, similar to, all the good things that people are supposed to do in the village. And people associate witches with everything to do with evil, and they're not. So they were the ones who did cast spells to bring in good fortune for people. They'd invite them into your house, and they would give you a nice red, shiny apple. And that was a good omen, good fortune. And I reckon...
Not for Snow White.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
But they'd be highly polished, but I don't know what they were polished with. I don't know whether it was horse shit or anything, but anyway, I wondered whether they'd still do that in the supermarkets, because they're highly polished when they put them out.
It's just obviously creating the appeal just to make them look more delicious, whereas now we're sort of going backwards and wanting them more organic. And
so where did the evil component of it connect to?
Well, now you're asking. The evil component, and I have actually seen a number of these very large bonfires that would take place in a witch's coven, and it would be in the middle of Dartmoor, miles and miles from anywhere. People don't realise what that is. That's equivalent to 2.2 kilometres. They would erect a huge bonfire, and then it would be men and women they would be in a coven. They're sworn to silence. They're sworn to do all sorts of crazy things, but they would call on the other side. So when we talked about the veil being very thin, that's their opportunity to call on the dark side to give them extraordinary powers. And the idea there is that they call the evil spirits into the bonfire, and they actually walk to the bonfire, into the bonfire, and through to the other side. Wow. And there is actually recorded information, and there was one lady who wrote a book. It was called From Witchcraft to Christ, who claims that she actually did this.
Wow.
And there wasn't a hair burnt on her body, and she never smelt of smoke. How that could be, I don't know. But she's, from her statement, she said that she walked into the fire, and one of the devil's, I don't know what you would call them, little helpers.
Advocates.
Yeah, something like that. Would meet them in the middle of the fire. They'd hold their hand, and of course by the time they got to the other side, they'd made an agreement just by holding that evil person's hand that they'd committed themselves to the dark side.
So, you know, that makes me think of when we see these images of in Asian cultures, Indian cultures, where they're actually walking over the hot coals, and they're not flawed or harmed in any way when they get to the other side. So they obviously get themselves up into a heightened state of whatever you want to call it, you know, and they just don't experience any harm because they just decide they're just not going to be harmed.
Yeah, but I think this is very much on a different level, whereas, you know, that would be about controlling the mind and the pain, a bit like hypnosis. Yeah. You know, you can talk yourself into not feeling any pain, and it's a workup, a bit of hysteria, yeah, that's it. And you can walk across that and not burn yourself and not feel the pain. But this was a very conscious effort to walk into the fire to actually meet the devil. So witches' covens has been going on for a long time. And I remember as kids, we used to hide in the bushes because we'd know there was a fire going off. How that would work out now with, you know, the kind of technology they've got that could, what are they called, the little
satellites? Or...
No, the little
drones.
The drones.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah.
You know, imagine what the police would do with the drones, go looking for witches' covens on Dartmoor. We've got some spot fires going on over there, and they haven't got any clothes on.
Oh God! Well, it's interesting because
and you watched this as a child.
Well, I would say when I say a child, I was probably more a teenager. We were fascinated, but very scared because we thought, oh my God, what would they do if they caught us?
Did you, in that experience, did you witness any spiritual experiences in that environment? Like, did you see any souls?
To be honest, no, I didn't see. We didn't see anything really evil or nasty spirits or anything like that going on. But definitely, there was a very uneasy atmosphere. It wasn't very nice.
Sense it.
Yeah, and they were all wailing in all sorts of
chanting.
Yeah, like a different tongue that you wouldn't. You know, it was. You know, like the churches, they say talking in tongues, but it was like that, but they were all chanting at the same time. So the vibration of that was just thoroughly, it was awful. That was the only way to explain it.
Wow.
Luckily, I only saw a few of them. I think the last one was enough to put me off.
And this is a white witch or a black witch?
No, these are actual witches. So that you don't get a black witch. A white witch is somebody that has your, is interested. Your health and benefit.
Yeah.
So if you had a problem with a neighbour that was giving you a hard time, causing you some problems, then you would go and see her, and she would do a sort of ritual when it was a full moon.
Yep.
They each had their own little symbol, which was sort of inside a piece of cloth or paper. And there's a specific word for it. I'm trying to
Talisman?
It's something similar to that, where they actually put it inside it, and it's their own personal little symbol that represents them, and you would wear it on you.
Yeah, that sounds like a talisman, yeah.
It was a bit like that, but it's got another name. If I remember it towards the end of this podcast, I'll let you know. If I start shouting this odd word, you'll know it's me. So then you would be asked to meditate at the same time every day with a picture and ask them to go away, and they would.
Wow.
It didn't take that long. And you weren't asking them, you weren't causing them any harm. There would just be a perfectly good reason for them to move house.
Right, yes, I see.
Yeah, because what I was going to say was with, it is the 31st of October is traditionally what we would call Halloween or All Hallows.